I never thought I'd be the guy digging through receipts and texts on what was supposed to be our anniversary night. Lisa and I had been together for 8 years, and honestly, I thought we had a decent thing going, nothing perfect but steady. We weren't the romantic types, but I believed we were solid. Until this year when everything started feeling off. Little things, really small at first. She was more distant, her phone always in her purse, glancing at it like it held the secrets of the universe. She'd come home late from work more often, claiming she was burning the midnight oil, which I stupidly accepted because she always said she was dedicated to her job. That was her excuse for everything. Working late, missing dinners, even skipping date nights. But something didn't sit right anymore. She'd come home with a new perfume scent that I didn't recognize or act cagey whenever I asked about her day. She'd brush off my questions, get defensive, and then suddenly turn cold when I pressed her about her whereabouts. At first, I thought maybe I was just paranoid, maybe she was working late, or maybe I was just overthinking. But then last week, I decided to check her phone out of pure frustration. I mean, what's the point of being married if I don't have some basic trust? I saw messages. Not just work-related stuff, but flirty texts with her boss, Mark. Promises about seeing each other tonight, secret dinners, and even explicit messages about wanting to do her in the hotel after a late work event. The hotel receipts I found in her purse were the real shocker. They were dated the night of our anniversary dinner. I was supposed to take her out for a fancy dinner, wine, a nice night, something to celebrate us. Instead, she was out with him at a hotel lying about working late. I couldn't believe it. She lied about working late when she was with her boss, Mark, doing God knows what. I felt sick, like the ground had shifted beneath my feet. I couldn't sleep that night, replaying everything in my head, the way she'd smirk when she lied, the way she brushed me off when I asked her about her day. It was like I never really knew her at all. I decided I needed to confront her. I waited until she got home from work the next day, calmer than I felt inside. When she walked in, I was already sitting on the couch with the receipts in my hand. Her face twitched. She knew I'd found out. She looked me dead in the eyes and started with her usual bullshit, saying she was just working late, that Mark was helping her with some project, that I was overreacting because I didn't trust her. But I cut her off. I told her I knew everything, about the hotel, the texts, the lies. Her face went dark, her eyes flashing with anger and contempt. Her reaction was just as manipulative as I expected. She threw a fit, calling me paranoid, insecure, and overbearing husband. She said I was controlling, that Mark was just a professional friend, that I was making it all up because I didn't want to believe she was capable of cheating. I asked her directly if she'd been having sex with him, because honestly, that's what it looked like, and she just sneered and told me I was being ridiculous, that I was jealous and insecure, that she deserved better than the suspicion I was throwing her way. And she stormed out, leaving me sitting there feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. That night I couldn't sleep. I felt betrayed, furious, and utterly broken. I kept thinking about everything, how she'd lied to my face, how she'd kissed me goodbye that morning like everything was fine. I started questioning everything about us, about who she really was. Did I ever really know her? Or was I just fooling myself? I was angry at her for cheating, but also angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. How could I have missed all the signs? How could I have been so blind? The betrayal cut so deep I didn't even want to look at her the next morning. I felt like I was waking up in someone else's nightmare, one I couldn't wake up from. The next few days were a whirlwind of confusion and rage. I couldn't concentrate on anything except the thought of her with Mark, the way she'd lied to my face and pretended everything was normal. Every time I saw her, I felt like I was looking at a stranger, someone I once loved, but now just a betrayal in human form. I started digging through her stuff, trying to find more evidence, anything that could give me clarity. Her phone was the first target. I knew I shouldn't, but I was desperate. I found even more texts, flirtatious, seductive, promising. She called him babe in some of them, and he replied with even more explicit messages. They talked about meeting up, about their plans to spice things up during her business trips. It was like a punch to the stomach every time I read another message. I kept asking myself, how could she do this? How could she lie so easily, pretend to be this perfect wife, and then turn around and have sex with her boss? That's what it was, really. Sex, secret meetings, promises, she was cheating on me. That's what I finally accepted. It wasn't just some fling or a one-time thing, it was a full-blown affair. I could see the signs now, her disappearing acts, her coldness, the way she'd look at her phone when she thought I wasn't watching. I knew I had to make a decision. I didn't want to be the fool who just forgave her because I loved her or because I was scared of being alone. No, I had to face the truth. She wasn't the woman I married, or maybe she never was. That realization made my stomach turn. I felt humiliated, angry, but also oddly numb. I started plotting my next move. What kind of revenge could I serve her? Because if she thought she could get away with this, she was dead wrong. I wasn't the kind of guy to just walk away and pretend none of this happened. I decided I'd confront her again, but this time with a plan. I wanted her to see that I knew everything, and I wanted her to understand that she couldn't lie her way out of this. I couldn't just let her walk away after doing what she did. I wanted her to feel the weight of her betrayal. I also knew I had to keep my cool. Letting my anger take over wouldn't help me get the answers I needed or the closure I wanted. So I waited until she was home again, pretending everything was normal, but inside I was boiling. When she walked through the door, I was already sitting on the couch with all the evidence spread out on the table. Her face immediately went pale. Somehow she knew I'd found out more. Her eyes darted around, trying to find an escape, but I kept her in place. I told her I knew about the texts, about the hotel, about everything. She tried her usual defensive routine, calling me paranoid, accusing me of snooping, saying I was just insecure. But I didn't buy it anymore. I told her I wanted the truth, no lies, no bullshit. I asked her directly if she'd been sleeping with Mark. Her face twisted into a sneer and she responded with a laugh, a dismissive wave, and more excuses. "You're blowing this out of proportion," she said. "Mark is just a friend, you have to trust me." But I'd seen enough. I told her I didn't trust her anymore, not after everything I'd uncovered. I said I'd been loyal to her all these years and she'd been cheating behind my back. Her reaction was infuriating. She accused me of being jealous, insecure, possessive. Like it was my fault she chose to sleep with her boss. I felt my blood boil, but I kept my voice steady. I told her I knew about the sex, about the promises, about the hotel, and that I was done playing her fool. That's when she snapped. She called me a control freak, said I was ruining everything because I couldn't handle her success. She told me I was just insecure and that I should get over it. That was the moment I realized she didn't care. She didn't care about us, about me, only about saving her own ass. I could see it in her eyes, the cold, bitchy look she gave me. It was like she enjoyed watching me suffer. That night I left, not knowing what exactly I'd do next, but knowing deep down that this wasn't going to end well. It was the worst feeling I've ever had, feeling so betrayed, so insignificant, so completely discarded by someone I once loved with all my heart. In the days that followed, I found myself spiraling. Every time I thought about what she did, my stomach clenched tighter. I kept replaying her words, her sneers, the way she dismissed me like I was some nuisance. I couldn't even look at her without feeling disgusted. It was like she'd pulled off some magic trick, hiding her true self under the mask of a caring wife, and I'd been too blind to see it. Now I saw her for what she really was, selfish, manipulative, a liar. I realized I'd wasted years investing in someone who only cared about herself, her career, her affair. I knew I had to do something, something to make her regret her choices, to show her I wasn't some sucker she could walk all over. I started planning my revenge. Not in some petty, childish way, but a calculated, strategic move. I wanted her to feel the pain, the betrayal, the loss of control. I wasn't just going to leave her and walk away. I wanted her to see that her actions had consequences. I began collecting everything I could. More texts, hotel receipts, even screenshots of their conversations that I managed to save before she could delete anything. I wanted her to realize I knew everything, and I was planning to make her pay. One night, I went online and started doing research. I read about how to expose an affair discreetly, how to turn her own secrets against her. I also reached out to a few friends, people I trusted, to vent and get some advice. The overall consensus was that I had to confront her again, but this time with everything on the table so she couldn't deny or manipulate her way out of it. I knew she'd try to spin it, call me crazy, or accuse me of ruining her career like she already was, but I didn't care. I wanted her to feel how it was to be betrayed so thoroughly. So I set the trap. I left my phone around with some of her texts visible on the screen, things I knew she wouldn't want me to find. I also secretly recorded her when she came home from work, just to catch her in a lie if she tried to deny anything. I made sure I was calm, collected, and in control. When she came back into the apartment that evening, I sat her down, my heart pounding. I told her I knew everything, that I had proof of her affair with Mark, that I knew about the hotel, the texts, the lies. Her face flickered with that same sneer, but I didn't let her get away with her usual bullshit. She tried to brush it off, saying I was jealous or insecure again, and that Mark was just a work friend. But I pressed her harder. I told her I wasn't going to be another fool caught in her web of lies. I showed her the receipts, the screenshots, played the recordings. Her face went from confident to furious, then to panic. She started screaming that I was crazy, that I was ruining her career, that I was overreacting because I was insecure. But I'd had enough. I told her I was done playing her game, that I was filing for divorce, and that I was done pretending she was innocent. The look in her eyes was priceless: anger, contempt, and a trace of fear. She spat at me, called me a jealous idiot, accused me of ruining her life. That night, I packed a bag and left. I didn't want to be around her anymore, not after how she'd lied, cheated, and callously dismissed everything we had. I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I'd finally taken control of the situation, but I also felt like I'd lost a part of myself. The woman I loved was gone, replaced by this manipulative, bitchy person who only cared about herself. Now I'm just trying to figure out what's next. Do I fight for the marriage? Do I walk away and forget it ever happened? Honestly, I don't know. All I know is that I don't trust her anymore, and I don't think I ever will. The days after I kicked her out felt like a blur. I was living alone in my apartment, trying to piece together the mess she left behind. Every time I walked past her stuff or looked at the empty spot where she used to sleep, the anger would flare up again. But beneath that, there was also this deep, aching sadness. I'd loved her once, believed in us, believed she was my partner for life. Now I wondered if I ever really knew her at all. The woman I married, who used to laugh at my stupid jokes and hold my hand during bad days, was gone, replaced by someone cold, calculating, and willing to cheat for her own selfish reasons. I decided I had to think about what I wanted long term. I knew I couldn't stay with her, not after what I'd found out. The trust was shattered beyond repair. Still, I didn't want to make any rash decisions. I reached out to a lawyer, started gathering documents, and thought about what my next move should be. Honestly, part of me wanted to make her pay, make her regret ever crossing the line. I felt like I deserved some kind of justice for all the pain she caused me. But I also knew I had to protect myself legally and emotionally. During this period, I also began talking to friends, people I trusted, men who had been through similar betrayals. They told me to focus on myself, to make sure I was okay first, before trying to fix or end things. Some suggested I take her to court for whatever I could prove, especially the hotel receipts and messages. Others told me I should just cut my losses and move on. I fluctuated between these options, unable to decide what felt right. Every night, I'd lie in bed and replay the events, wondering if I had missed signs or been blind to her true nature. It was like I'd been living with a stranger all along and I'd never noticed. One morning, I woke up feeling different. Tired, yes, but also with a newfound resolve. I knew I had to do something permanent, something that would give me closure. I couldn't keep living in limbo, wondering if she'd come back, if she'd tell the truth, or if she'd just keep lying and manipulating. I decided to file for divorce. I wanted her out of my life completely, no more secrets, no more lies. I wanted to start over, rebuild my confidence, and recover what I'd lost. It wasn't an easy choice, but deep down, I knew it was the right one. I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with her betrayal, not anymore. The divorce process was messy. She tried to fight it, calling me names, accusing me of trying to ruin her reputation, saying I was jealous and insecure. She even tried to spin it so I was the bad guy, the one who couldn't handle her success. But I had proof, more than enough to show that she'd lied and cheated. The legal battle dragged on for several weeks, filled with heated exchanges, but in the end the judge granted the divorce. I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness when it was finalized. It was like finally closing a chapter I desperately wanted to forget. As I moved out and started the process of rebuilding my life, I couldn't help but reflect on everything that happened. How naive I'd been, how much I'd loved her, and how much I'd lost. I kept asking myself, was it worth it to trust her? Could I have done things differently? The truth was, I'd been blinded by love, but now I saw her for what she really was, someone willing to throw everything away for a moment of selfish desire. That realization stung, but it also gave me clarity. I knew I'd never get that part of her back, and I'd have to accept that. Now I'm at my own crossroads. I'm trying to focus on healing, on rebuilding my confidence, and on figuring out what I want from life moving forward. The betrayal cut so deep that I sometimes wonder if I'll ever fully trust again. But I also know that I won't let her or her lies define me. I've learned a hard lesson about love, trust, and betrayal, and I'm still trying to piece myself back together. Moving on hasn't been easy. Some days I feel okay, like I'm finally starting to breathe again. Other days I get hit with waves of anger, sadness, or just plain disappointment. The worst part is the constant doubt. Am I overreacting? Did I miss signs? Maybe I should have seen it coming, but deep down I know I couldn't have prevented her from being who she was. She chose her path, and I was just a guy who believed in her. Now I'm left trying to pick up the pieces of a life I thought I knew. I've started seeing a therapist, partly to deal with the fallout and partly to figure out what I want next. Honestly, it's been helpful. Talking about everything, the betrayal, the anger, the heartbreak, has made me realize how much I suppressed my feelings for years. I thought I was the problem, that maybe I wasn't enough. But my therapist keeps reminding me that the fault wasn't mine. People are responsible for their own choices, even if we want to believe we can fix or save them. I'm learning to accept that sometimes love isn't enough to fix someone who's determined to betray you. People have also been asking me if I'm ready to date again, if I want to try trusting someone new. Honestly, I don't know. My instinct right now is to stay single for a while, focus on myself. I need to rebuild my trust in people, especially women, after what I went through. I've realized that I shouldn't rush into anything. I deserve someone who's honest, loyal, and respectful, someone who won't lie and cheat just to satisfy their own selfish needs. I also took a break from social media, especially from places where I'd see her or her new life. I didn't want to be reminded of her or what we lost. Instead, I started working out more, trying to rebuild my confidence physically and mentally. I got a new job, which has helped distract me and give me a sense of purpose. Slowly, I'm trying to get back to a routine that makes me feel alive again. It's not easy, and I still have moments where I question everything, but I know I have to keep moving forward. One thing I've realized is how difficult it is to forget the betrayal, but also how important it is to forgive yourself for trusting someone so deeply. I keep telling myself that I loved her sincerely, and that's okay. It's okay to feel hurt, to feel betrayed. That means I cared. But I also need to remember that I don't have to stay stuck in the past. I can learn from it, grow from it, and eventually find happiness again. I just have to give myself time. Most of all, I've learned the importance of boundaries and listening to my gut. If something feels off, it probably is. I won't ignore red flags anymore. I won't let anyone make me doubt myself or dismiss my feelings. If I could give one piece of advice to anyone going through something similar, it would be this. Trust your instincts. Don't be afraid to walk away from deception, and remember that you deserve honesty and loyalty. No one should have to live with betrayal. I'm still healing, but I know I'll come out stronger on the other side. I just have to keep going. Looking back, I realize this whole ordeal has changed me in ways I never expected. I used to think love was enough, thought if I was good enough, patient enough, she'd see it and come back to me. But now I understand that some betrayals cut so deep that love alone isn't enough to fix the damage. Trust, respect, honesty, those are the real foundations of a relationship. Without them, everything crumbles and you're left picking up the pieces of a life you thought was solid. I've learned not to be naive anymore. I see red flags much quicker now. I listen to my gut, and I know I won't tolerate any form of deception again. I've also come to accept that some chapters in life need to end, even if they're painful. Moving on doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning, growing, and choosing myself over someone who doesn't value me. That's the hardest lesson, but the most important one. This experience has taught me that I'm stronger than I thought. I faced betrayal, heartbreak, and betrayal again, all in the span of a few months, and I survived. I may still have scars, but they remind me of what I've been through, and they make me cautious. They also make me appreciate the good things in life more: my health, my friends, my own peace of mind. I've realized I don't need someone who lies and cheats to feel complete. I just need to be honest with myself and keep moving forward. Finally, I want to say to anyone else out there who might be going through something similar, it's okay to feel shattered. It's okay to cry, to be angry, to question everything. But don't stay stuck in that pain. Seek help if you need it, lean on friends, and take your time. You'll get through it. Maybe it won't feel like it right now, but eventually the pain will lessen and you'll find your way back to happiness, stronger, wiser, and more aware of what you deserve. Life's too precious to waste on someone who doesn't see your worth. And someday, I believe we all find the peace and love we're really looking for, after facing our darkest moments.